Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to a scene for the living world of darkness, rage across New York, wherein we'll be setting the scene at the Cairnheart, right there at that special little creamy nougat center of the Sept, where Tim Point has taken time just before entering scene to drop off some of that demanded fresh mozzarella before stepping across, as she is wont to do, so that she can interact more directly with the totem and offer her support and her presence. And so yeah, we'll start this up Umbra side with 10 Point just now passing through. So what is Talate up to?
Yeah, I kind of imagine the two shrines being, since they're like the totems of the Sept, are like really close together.
Mhm.
So, 10 Point will see Tlatahin actually in front of Chimera's shrine, and she is actually talking in a language that 10 Point might have heard at some point. I don't know, but probably not very often.
If it's the one I'm thinking of, she's heard Talate and will use it very sparingly here and there, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, she just recognizes it as, oh yeah, that language. Like, she doesn't have any idea what's happening with that.
Yeah. And yeah, Tlatine is basically telling a story. She has her drum, and from time to time she beats it.
For
So that is the
dramatic
way.
effect.
Well, it's like more of a way that they used to tell stories where she grew up. So it's like a half song, half dance tale. Yeah, with like the drum. She's also like it's a drum that 10 Point has definitely seen with Platine. But it's kind of, well, it's not shaped like a baran or something, although it has that size. And it has a drumstick, which is way more thicker than you would expect a drumstick to be. And Platine is actually banging the sides of the drum and not on the drum itself. From time to time. And there's a stick. She's not holding the drum itself, but she's holding a stick that is attached to the drum. And from time to time, she turns it around and around. And it's kind of a weird thing. It's basically called a drum dance.
That's pretty awesome. So yeah, 10 Point will, at least initially, will not get in the midst of whatever process she's doing, as it looks like something that's at least moderately ritualized, even if it's just in a perfectly mundane sense that this is how it is done traditionally. And she'll take herself off a bit to the side, settle over by Great White Mouse's shrine, and much as she's been doing, which is primarily just keeping company and giving comfort, as Great White Mouse seems to be a rather emotional spirit. She just settles there and will quietly take to humming, not loud enough to interrupt the tale going on just off to the other side, just soft humming, some sort of song from home, potentially something that almost sounds lullaby-like, kind of soft and soothing. And she'll just settle there, near to the shrine, near to where Great White Mouse resides, and just kind of offer some quiet company until Talate hits a stopping point.
She'll do so after, obviously, the tale is finished. And yeah, it's basically her, like what she's doing to appease Chimera is basically just telling stories, playing her flute, stuff like that, telling
I
about her
imagine
dreams.
I imagine they've had at least one good jam between flute and violin.
Yeah, probably. Which must be really weird to have like the Irish tones mixing with the Native American style. That must have been a really pretty weird effect. But I
Strangely,
can imagine.
violin and flute go pretty well together. It just
Violet and
means
flute are
adapting.
amazing. No, Violet and flute are definitely amazing. But it's the different styles, you know.
Definitely, it would have been interesting to see, like, one show up while the other was playing and have them kind of weirdly mimic and support the other type of style, and then potentially shifting. It sounds actually pretty neat.
It does. That it does. You're gonna have like this Irish Native American fusion thing going on.
You know what? We're gonna make it happen. It's gonna be baller as fuck.
I actually wish that. Do you happen to play violin? Because I happen to play the flute in real life. We can make this happen.
I don't. I'm sad. If only.
Sad.
That's one of the instruments I would have liked to have learned.
I would have liked to learn the harp. Anyway.
Alas.
Yeah.
But yes, sooner or later, Tlate comes to the end of her tale.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And when she's actually alert again and kind of looking around as opposed to being supremely focused on the task at hand, she'll catch a little nod from off to the side.
Yeah, she'll give a nod in return. Take her time to basically explain to Chimera that she's gonna be right back. I mean, she's left Chimera's side from time to time to do just her regular stuff, as I imagine 10 Point has done as well. But yeah, she'll go over to 10 Point. Sit in a place where she can still see Chimera's shrine, just in case something happens.
Oh yeah, 10 Point will actually go so far as to rouse up and meet her halfway so they can plunk down together, kind of in a nice middle spot.
Yeah.
And when she has flopped back down, fairly comfortably, really, because Tlate doesn't really stand on ceremony, at least with her. So she'll plunk back down and offer again the nod, this time with kind of a teasing grin. Good afternoon, Raya.
She's getting used to that word. But she still prefers to use it herself instead of people using it to address her. But she'll nod. Good evening, 10 Point. Or do you prefer to go by 1,000 cuts now?
There's kind of a non-committal shrug. I am thankful for my alpha's recognition, but 10 Point is as much a default name to me as Tlatahine would be to you. So either is fine. So, shall I catch you up? Kind of she'll gesture between the two shrines to what brought this on and what I know.
Yes, that's if you have the time, that is. I've understood that you're being busy a lot with the situation with the Shadowrunners.
I was acting as support, yes, for Dragonrend, but she has something to focus on now, which has helped her a good bit. So while she is focusing on preparing for the gathering, she doesn't need me to shadow her so much anymore.
It is good that she can grieve. I've come to understand from your tribe is you need that kind of thing.
We do. To feel strongly can sometimes be a blessing. To have great morale in battle is wonderful, but there are times that it's as much a burden. And she dearly loved her alpha.
Yes. I understand, I think.
She'll give a quiet nod, acknowledging the kind of unspoken empathy there. So, in regards to the Keeper of the Land, Raya,
yes,
I will start back a step before this. You heard the Alpha's howl, assigning Tail Singer to Shinlo, yes?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It turns out that there was previously a Tail Singer. That howl was made the day after she died. What is peculiar about it is that she didn't die in battle. She didn't die fighting. She wasn't attacked. She kind of screws up her face. Like, there's blatant disbelief. She apparently choked on her food, Raya. And when we asked the keeper who was her pack mate, he said that all he could hear was her saying that she couldn't breathe. She was a fury and home with her kin, having dinner.
Poison?
I did consider it. I considered, too, that if her breath was being stolen away and she was off the sept grounds, it was possible that there was a spirit involved.
Mm-hmm.
But it does get stranger in that, well, we haven't had the chance yet. We have found where her kin resides and have gained permission to go and speak to him and to investigate. But she was a member of the same pack as the Keeper, as the Caller of the Wild, and as one known as... Oh, God, let me check my shit, because I totally forgot. Shit. Let me scroll up a little bit. Known as Rebel Yell. But, so this took place, and the pack grieved. But I find it strange that within, a week perhaps, the Keeper seemingly just passed in his sleep. I'm not an expert, I'm not a doctor, I haven't had that kind of schooling, but I know much about our people and how we work and how we're put together. And from what I can tell, he had been drinking. He was on the verge of Hirano after losing his packmate. And his packmate brought him, I should say Rebel Yell, Raya, escorted him back to the Keeper's home. And there he threw up. He was very drunk. And he put him to bed. And then he went to meditate. And in that time, from him leaving his packmate in his home, in his bed, somehow he passed while he slept. And I can't tell if it was something to do with his heart, if it was something to do with his breath. It was something unseen, Raya. That was as much as I could tell from the body. And while poison might have worked on one member of the pack, poisoning a Fianna is no easy feat, and there isn't a spirit on this sept who would do ill to the Keeper or allow it to be done. So I find myself at a loss on how. Normally it's a blessing when we can pass so quietly, but they were still capable if they should not.
She'll actually raise an eyebrow when he says, or when 10 Point says that it's like a blessing, because no. Well, at least not to her. But
it's kind of like it's kind of that rare blessing that you get to just go in your sleep. Like, how many of us get to do that? But no, this was not the case for this.
You should die fighting Gaia, or for Gaia, you know.
Obviously. But she kind of treats it like it's, there's some elders that this happens to, but nah, these guys weren't that old, man. They weren't like 80. They weren't like 1 million years old. This isn't right. Something's wrong.
Well, yeah, that's definitely. Like, I mean, there's the eyebrow raise and then the frown as Slatin is thinking. If possible, well, depending, of course, on. I know a little bit of medicine. The elders of my septus had taught me some. It's nothing like those Weaver hospitals. It's just mostly herbs and yeah, but
a little nod of agreement, like I got you, because that's about how much she knows too.
I mean, she still has 3 dots in it.
Oh, you got a little more than me. You got one more than me. Shakes my fist.
Sorry. So, if you need an extra set of eyes or some help,
you're welcome to see if you can find more than I did, Raya. It was frustrating not to find any sign If I'd thought about it that night, I should have seen if I could have collected some of what he threw back up again to see if there was something in it. Because while it is hard to poison us, very hard, it's not impossible. And he may not have been blacking out such things if he was drinking to forget.
Have you considered calling their ancestor spirits?
Not yet. His pack is still in mourning. The collar and Rebel were not in a very good state that night. I thought it best to speak to you first.
Well, it's an option. Another option might be... Dream Ravens have been able to show me things in the past. From the past.
The hard part seems to be finding what to look for, because in the first case, she was fed by her own mated kin, and I can't fathom that he would have knowingly given her anything that was tainted, and there was no worm taint on him.
Are you sure it was her kin?
They were linked in. He was very upset, but he knew that she was home, that she was with her kinfolk having dinner when she passed. She choked, she couldn't breathe, and passed. And then he, somehow, in the midst of sleep, simply passed.
I was just thinking, since a while ago we had an imposter that looked like Alana Raya.
Ah, yeah. True. We did mean to go and speak to him. Perhaps we could figure it out.
If not, we would need to see where he got that food from. I think that's the first lead, because that's actually something that is that has a trail. Like, we don't know about the keeper yet, because both situations don't make sense. But if we solve the first situation, maybe that will give us a lead to the second one.
And she gives a light nod, looking a bit thoughtful. Raya, do you know of any herbs, any things that one could put into food that would affect Guru, but not kin or normal human beings?
No, I can't think of any that would only affect Guru. I mean, there are still ways that I could imagine that one could go about this, like pouring like grounded silver into a drink could be a thing.
And she nods.
But that alone, I can't imagine would kill someone. Besides, that would hurt.
The strange thing is that silver dust to you or me would be deadly, but to them, taking it in Hamid, it shouldn't have had that much effect. Not unless there was a lot of it, perhaps, but most in their breed forms don't take ill effects to silver.
No. I am just honestly just thinking out loud.
It is a thought that I had entertained as well, because certainly, again, to you or me, would have been very effective, but...
Well, I will think about this. I know we used to have one Philodox on Sept who couldn't stand like wolfsbane for some reason. But it would be very coincidental if both of them would have that same affliction.
Precisely so. The thing that concerns me, Raya, is that this pack came from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
They were friends to the previous warder, who is also from Chicago, but has left for our further provinces to the other cairn. And they kept saying we should have gone with him. And they seemed to believe that the bitterness of those who were here before them may be part of the motivation for this to happen. For Chicago werewolves to be stripped out of their positions, to be torn down, so that those native to our sept can take them back. It's probably something said in grief, but if they're that concerned about it, I worry.
You think that the old warder might not have left or might be back?
I think that they regretted that they did not go with him when he went to the farther part of our province, to the other cairn, to take a position there. They were saying they felt that they should have gone with him because they felt as though they were unwanted and unwelcome in position here because they did not come from here. They seemed to suspect that it was because they came from Chicago that they were being targeted. And while I don't necessarily agree, there's still at least one more member of that pack who holds a position. And I worry that we should have eyes on her.
We could set a kinfetch spirit. I'm sure with maybe some extra tuminage, it might be willing to, instead of looking over kin, might be willing to look over a Garou.
It's not a bad idea. And she is certainly well inclined to the wind. It couldn't be that hard to maybe have one of them even watch over her and come running to one of us or to any Garou if she were in trouble. And if breathing is the issue, then certainly the wind would sense that, a lack of air in the lungs.
Yeah. Maybe you can even have two follow her. Have one be able to get back to us, winter's fast. Have the second one maybe able to actually put wind back in her body.
There's a thoughtful nod there. It's not a bad idea. I don't know if Rebeliel holds a position, but we should probably look into it.
So that is at least something we can do. To provide some extra protection. I can see if I can get the Dream Ravens or maybe even Chimera to help. Maybe if the Dream Ravens are willing to show me again the past, could provide a hint.
And if you were to focus on that, I could speak to the wind.
All right.
Hmm?
All right.
It's a step.
I also think it... I'm trying to think where it could be linked on other than what they seem to think. The only thing that pops in my mind is the fact that we just lost a lot of kin as well.
I spoke to Jacob Raya on that. He said it was a very carefully arranged process where 10 of them were murdered as if they were victims, and the other 7 were framed as the terror group that attacked them and then taken down by the police. I found it strange that with so many kin from so many different tribes, they were able to, over the course of a day, pinpoint them and harm only them.
There is, of course, another possibility.
I'm all
That
ears.
I don't like the idea of it, and I don't want to believe that that is even possible. But we could have a traitor in our midst.
She kind of sucks in a deep and stiff breath on that one, and then very tersely, slowly lets it back out again. As much as I agree with you in that I wouldn't like it, Raya, it's very possible. So many kin, and only the kin. And then 2 Guru who hold position in the sept. It takes some sort of insight to target so cleanly.
Well, that's the thing that we might be able to solve. Although it's going to take a lot of time. Although, no, that wouldn't work. Maybe my sweat lodge. Because if they are able to get on Sept without the ward setting off, then a rite of cleansing would probably not have the effect that we're looking for. Now,
No.
my rite of the sweat lodge is a little stronger than a rite of cleansing, but not that much.
The harder part is deciding who and what to cleanse.
We would have to cleanse the entire Sept. Olgaru from Mama L to, well, we don't have any cups right now, so the lowest Cleath. That's an enormous task.
Yes.
Plus,
That is
a lot of
something
people will
best taken.
protest.
Perhaps if it was taken to the Master of the Rite. Perhaps. I've heard before of using cleansing rains, something subtle, so that it did not set people off or make them worry for being suspected. But
True.
what could even come onto our grounds besides one of us or kin? And even then, it couldn't be someone who was worm tainted. Not unless they had a way to hide it. And I believe only Guru can do that.
Out of character, I will have to make a lore check for this because.
Oh, yeah.
I believe skin dancers can actually.
That would be so exciting.
Because we had a while back, we had a player character that got murdered and then walked around on Sept because someone was wearing his skin. Oh, but like I said, that's something that I would definitely. That's not something that Latin would automatically know. So
That's true.
I
Well,
will
the harder
poke an
part,
SD for this.
the harder part is that they would either have to have a gift to hide worm taint, or would have to have gotten the skins willingly to not be worm tainted.
Yeah, but do you check? Yeah, that's a ward still. I don't know. Like, I will make a lore check with an SD for that.
Totes. So yeah.
I don't even know if I have high enough worm lore for that.
You can always try.
I can always try.
You can argue that the term alone is a native term, so maybe you'd have a better chance of thinking of it. Hey, I make the argument for certain Celtic themed things. I'm like, come on, this rings right with my cultural shit. Come on. But yeah. So she'll mull further. Whatever it is, couldn't carry worm taint, couldn't carry weaver taint. It would set off the wards. So it would have to be someone acting of their own accord. And while it is evil, it doesn't necessarily require worm taint to do evil things.
I mean, that's always true. We know that. Although evil things are most likely to be worm tainted, it doesn't need to happen.
Oh, and before I forget,
Mm.
especially with you and Will, be aware. There's a group in the city. The initials of their group spell fear. And
I was there.
yep. Okay, thank God. Sorry. Katie forgot. It was like, oh
That's fine.
God, fucking growth spirits, tainted growth spirits for Gaia. What the fuck?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, nix that. Derp, Katie is trying to keep track
No,
of
I
too
mean
much
that's
shit.
fine, and it is also fine that 10 point would be like, "Hey, I need to warn you about the thing," because there is a lot going on.
Yeah. You know what? Fuck it. 10 point is obviously overwrought with all the shit going on with her pack, with allies of her pack, with the Sept, with the Keeper. It's just too much. She's like, so yeah, she actually starts being like tainted growth spirits and this, and we'll eventually look up and realize Talata is giving her the seriously bro look or something, and just slowly stop. Oh,
I know
right.
I'm small, but I was wrong.
Apologies, Raya.
It is fine.
There's been much to keep mind of. I'm becoming forgetful.
If I could take over anything, like right now, most of my time goes to make sure Will stays out of trouble, but he's keeping away from me. So if there's anything I can do to ease your load.
Insight on this with the Keeper and his pack. Perhaps I will speak to my Raya, but perhaps if you think it can be done calmly and readily, I'll see if I can get you the address. But it is so many things. Do you still intend, Raya, to claim this position? Because it is better you than the alternative, and it is better filled sooner than later.
What's the alternative?
She kind of gives her a glance, like the little look. Like, we all know, like, of the Theurges on this sept, who would I least like to be in this position? So it's just kind of like the come on look.
I
Process of elimination, Raya. Felix Raya is a capable Theurge, but he is not the sort to tend the sept spirits. He's always turned his eyes out and into the city to tend there. And while Kumbhakarna may be present, he does not always seem to be that present, if you catch my drift. So the options narrow, and considering that only the two of us stepped up as keepers in the first place, Raya, I still back your move for this position, though it has become somewhat simpler than it might have been.
This is true. To be honest, I agree with you that the position needs to be fulfilled, and rather sooner than later, but I would hate to step up while this situation is still unresolved. There's also still Alana Raya she might challenge.
I confess that I would rather see you step in for the position, and if she thinks it is a poor choice, well, then it is your choice what the challenge is. And you're clever enough to hold that position. And to challenge, or to set the challenge wisely.
She narrows her eyes just ever so slightly as she looks at 10 point for a moment. She won't comment. There's a thought going through her mind that she's like, It's like taking a Wendigo over Fiona. You are Fiona, like,
No, that's fair. She seems pretty fucking committed, even though she gets a little bit of side eye. She doesn't like look ashamed of saying it. She doesn't like kind of do the, oh, I didn't really mean that. No, she looks really committed to what she's saying.
Like I said, Tatine won't comment on it. It's in tribal stuff that doesn't concern her. Let's first see if we can make headway in this situation. For all we know, if they're after the if they're not specifically after the pack, they could be after the positions.
From what I understand, Saoirse has suffered no ill from the inside, nothing uncanny.
Not yet.
This is true. And in the meantime, it is lucky indeed that you and I have become so well endeared to either totem. So we can keep this up, as long as you see necessary.
I think for now it's, like I said, I would prefer to have this solved before stepping up, and it doesn't, like, it's not that I worry for my life, but it feels, I am not some, I forgot the word for the birds that
Vulture.
expose. Thank you. I am not some vulture picking on a position of someone who's not even properly had its gathering.
Then wait for the gathering, Rhea. But do not wait too long. If you worry about claiming it, then speak perhaps to the Master of the Right or to the Alpha herself and make your intentions known to claim the position. And that way, if a challenge is due, it can be given and there can be no question of your claim.
That I can do. It is a weird situation.
It's very strange. I had spoken to Jacob Raya hoping that we could recover the bodies of the kin that were lost. And he said that while some, yes, the final 7, we would have much more trouble having them release the bodies because they were considered terrorists and might be held longer. And if any of them, presuming that a list is picked out, Amush said the names were pretty interchangeable. Should any of the latter group have been your own, keep an eye on their families, Raya. There shouldn't be further backlash, but there may be questions raised. If the police of this city believe that they were a terrorist group, they may come asking the families. I know we have moved ours.
I don't have any kin on set. I'm a metis.
They may not be your family, Raya, but they may be your people.
I will look into it. I will see if I can take care of the pure tribes kinfolk as much as I can. Well, me and Maria, that is. Well, she's been busy with her own things.
Do you think that once you have stepped up, she will join the Keepers, Raya? She seems comfortable with tending the spirits regularly.
I think she would. Although I've also spoken with Eric a while ago, and I would need to look into that again at some point, but right now, not a good time. We were talking about a way to interact more between the Keepers or the Theurges in general and the water, and the Guardians.
I'm given the impression that it's considered taboo to be in both, but I know that he has taken Felix into the Guardians as a representative for the Theurges.
I know Katori, when he was keeper of the land, he was not a guardian, but he was connected with them and had close interactions with them.
It certainly isn't a bad idea to have the keeper and the worm foe in talks.
Yeah. Well, at least that's... And she stops. Mid-sentence, she just stops. Yeah.
I hope I haven't said anything too forward.
No, you have not. I apologize. Eric, Raya, I think a while ago we decided that we shouldn't be keeping it really secret anymore, but it still feels weird talking about it. He's the son of my father.
It's kind of the pause, long pause, one blink, and then eventually a pardon.
He and I share the same father.
Ah. And she kind of does a little hand gesture where the two hands kind of roll around each other. She's like, I can see how that would be awkward. Yes.
Yeah.
Huh.
We found out in the Amazon. It was awkward is the right word.
It does seem like an apt word. Yes. In the end, there is the family we were born with and the family we choose.
We don't bear each other any ill will, but it still feels uncomfortable talking about it openly and plainly.
I can imagine as much. I appreciate that you told me.
She kind of shrugs. Like the uncomfortable, yeah, shrug. So far, actually only our packs knew about it, but him being in a new pack and his old pack knowing and my pack knowing, and well, when one of us left.
Ah.
I was actually surprised that he didn't. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Not for the current situation.
No.
So I will... If you go talk to the Wind Spirits, if you need any assistance, Wind Spirits do have a connection with the Wendigo as well. So if they ask for more than you can do on your own, don't be afraid to call for me. And I will look into the Dream Ravens. See if they can give me some information, or maybe someone else of Chimera's brood.
Of course you have.
Actually, maybe Uktena would know.
Uktana does seem to be in the business of knowing.
Especially the more darker knowledges.
I confess that my knowledge of Uktena is very shallow.
Older brother had a habit of wanting more and more knowledge. And go to extreme lengths. At least what we would consider extreme.
In the end, though, regardless of what can be said of how the knowledge is gained, the knowledge is good to have.
I agree the knowledge is good to have and can be useful, but sometimes prices are just too high. Would you sell your Fianna blood for knowledge?
No, right?
Exactly.
We all have a line.
Yeah, and Uktena's line is a bit easier to bend.
It's faint nod.
On behalf of knowledge. It makes them very strong in what they do, but what is lost cannot be regained anymore. That's, again, it doesn't matter. I might have a chat, see if I can find Father Uktena, see if...
Well, much as you've offered to me, if you find yourself in a place where the chiminage seems harsh, I know that Uktena is in the business of collecting knowledge, and while certain knowledges are easier to gain than others, I imagine there's still only so much that he can claim to know about the Fianna. And if I have to, I will exchange knowledge for knowledge.
I shall not. That is a very generous offer.
And she kind of, purses her brow a little bit and nods sincerely because she's not beyond understanding how rough an exchange that could be.
So, at least we have some things that we can look into. If you do get a chance to get around some of the bodies, if it would be possible, and like I said, if you need a couple of extra eyes, I'm more than willing to see what I can find.
I do know that the keeper's body is being held on sept. I can't speak for the old tale singer, but probably much the same. I have looked over the one, but you are more than welcome to investigate them as well. You may see something that I've missed.
I'll have a look at it.
Then, admittedly, I feel as though you have the better influence on spirits that would allow you to have insight on the dead, or communicate with them even. I've heard that the pure tribes can do incredible things.
I've heard the same of other tribes.
And she offers a bit of an easy little grin. Our brood is capable of wonderful things, Raya, but this is outside of my purview.
I think all of us are, in the end, especially Theurgis, capable of doing incredible things, especially with spirits. It's just a question of Are you willing to pay the price?
So long as it is me paying, Raya, the answer is most often yes.
There are prices that no one would want to pay. Sometimes
Of
it needs
course.
to happen. Middle brother is, well, middle brother stories are living proof of that, because that's all that's left of them.
There's another like tense little nod, like, "Yep, that was a thing that happened. It was bad."
Yeah, and yeah, Tlatine will stand up. Let's see if we can get some results down.
She gives a little nod and will likewise get herself up. Very well. Until we have a chance to meet and talk again, Raya.
Let's hope it'll be sooner rather than later.
There's another kind of warm little nod, actually, because she doesn't seem to be unduly uncomfortable in Tlate's presence. So yeah, just a warm little nod, and she'll, before departing, we'll return to Grey White Mouse's shrine to further check on the spirit, to offer condolences, offer company, and we'll eventually be off to the Hind Shrine to speak to the wind spirits there.
Yeah, and Tlatine will... She's been with Chimera for a while before 10 Point came, so she will quickly check if the totem would need anything, and then, yeah, goes on her way to where she is almost done constructing the shrine for the Dream Ravens, actually. And yeah, to talk with them.
Well, alrighty then. So I will say thank you, players, for playing, and watchers for watching. I see you. There's like 3 of you. Jesus. And we'll see you next time in the living world of darkness, rage across New York.